I'm sorry, Dad, but you're not invited to your own birthday. That's what my wife told me, standing there with that dead calm voice she uses when she's twisting the knife. Said it like it was a weather report. And the worst part? I believed her. See, I've always been close to my daughter. Olivia. My girl. My anchor. My reason. But somehow on the year I turned 60, I ended up sipping flat champagne at a backyard barbecue I didn't even plan, while the person who planned everything wasn't even there. It took months to unravel what really happened. Months to understand that my wife and my son didn't just forget to include Olivia in the celebration, they actively pushed her out. Twisted things so deep, so quiet, that by the time I realized what was missing, the damage was already done. But let me back up. Let me tell you how this started, not with a lie, but with something pure. It started with love. Olivia had been planning this birthday trip for 2 years. Italy, the homeland of my grandfather. She'd saved every spare dime, pulled favors with her firm, even booked a private tour of Bologna, where my nana grew up. She never told me directly, just hinted here and there. You like pasta, right? She'd ask, smiling. You ever want to see where your people came from? I should have seen it coming. But I didn't. Instead, I watched her get quieter as the weeks passed. Tyler, my son, started brushing her off at dinner. Caroline, my wife, got this way of looking at Olivia like she was a problem to be managed, not a daughter to be loved. Every time the trip came up, the subject changed faster than the weather in Chicago. And then, one day, Olivia stopped talking about it entirely. I figured she'd gotten busy. Work, probably. That's what I told myself. I didn't know yet that the silence wasn't hers. It had been planted, watered, by people I trusted. By my own family. And that was just the beginning. It started small. Always does. First, Olivia stopped getting replies in the family group chat. She'd send restaurant ideas, little hints about the trip, things like, found a Tuscan villa that sleeps 6, how's May for everyone? And nothing would come back. Not even a thumbs up from Tyler. Not even one of those passive-aggressive, sounds expensive texts Caroline usually sends when she's pretending to care. I didn't think much of it. I was grading finals. Wrapped up in the end-of-semester storm. And honestly, I just assumed we were still going to Italy. That was the plan. Olivia and I had talked about it over coffee back in February. She was glowing when she mentioned it. Said something about tracing our roots and drinking wine on cobblestone streets. But suddenly, it was like the trip evaporated. And then came the backyard dinner. We were over at Tyler's. He just bought a new grill and wanted to break it, in his words, not mine. Olivia wasn't there. Said she had a client call that ran late. Caroline just smiled and said she's always busy these days. Midway through the burgers, I caught them whispering near the kitchen window. Caroline. Tyler. Low voices. I couldn't make it out, but I caught my own name. Then Olivia's. Then a pause. She's making it all about herself again, Caroline said, just loud enough for me to hear through the screen. She wants to be the star of his birthday. It's always a performance with her. Tyler didn't argue. Just nodded. Something shifted in my chest. I didn't say anything. Just sat there, chewing slower, wondering how a woman who'd been in my life for 35 years could sound so cold about the one person who'd been planning something from the heart. Wondering when my son learned to stay quiet when things were wrong. They didn't know I'd heard. But I did. And for the first time, I started to wonder if something wasn't just off, but deliberately being buried. A week later, I came home from work to find Caroline waiting for me in the kitchen. She had that tone. The one she saves for when she's about to make something cruel sound reasonable. We're doing something simpler for your birthday this year, she said, stirring her tea like it owed her money. Just family. Nothing dramatic. I blinked. You mean the trip? She gave a tight smile. Oh, that. Olivia canceled it. I stared at her. She what? She said it didn't make sense anymore. Too expensive. Too complicated. Said she was too busy to plan anything real. That didn't sound like Olivia. Not even a little. But Caroline was already moving on, flipping through a stack of invitations for some backyard gathering. Balloons, folding chairs, sheet cake. A party that looked like an afterthought because that's exactly what it was. She didn't even want to be part of the planning, Caroline added with a kind of performative sadness. I know it hurts, but she's always been a little self-centered. The words hung there. Poison disguised as pity. I went upstairs and sat in my office, staring at the framed photo Olivia gave me years ago, the one from her college graduation. She was beaming in that photo, arm around my shoulders, the inscription on the back still etched into my memory, to the man who always believed in me even when others didn't. That night I didn't call her. I should have. I didn't. And when the party came, the small, forced, neighbor-filled cookout, Olivia wasn't there. Not even a text. That's what stung most. Because I didn't know yet that she hadn't chosen to miss it. I didn't know she wasn't allowed. After the party, things went quiet. Too quiet. No call from Olivia. No birthday card. No email. Not even a late text saying, "Sorry I missed it, Dad." It wasn't like her. Olivia doesn't forget things, especially not me. She's the one who remembers my old student ID number when I can't log into campus Wi-Fi. She's the one who buys me the exact shade of fountain pen ink I use every semester. So, yeah, silence from her? That wasn't just odd. It was unnatural. But Caroline had her explanation loaded and ready. "She's busy," she said with a shrug. "That job of hers, it's all deadlines and numbers. She'll reach out when she's ready." Tyler backed her up like a good little echo. "She's been distant for a while, Dad. Maybe it's just time to stop trying so hard." That one hit me wrong. I didn't say anything, but I felt it. A thud behind my ribs. Like something loyal inside me cracked, just a little. The thing is, they wanted me to believe she'd changed. But I knew better. A few days later, I was rummaging through my desk when I found it, an old travel brochure. Tuscany. Tucked between lecture notes and tax receipts. Olivia's handwriting was scribbled across the top, 60th Walsh family adventure. Not drama. Not performance. Adventure. It knocked the breath out of me. I stared at it for a long time, fingers pressed to the edge like I could rewind time just by holding it still. I knew then. Something had gone terribly wrong. And it wasn't Olivia. It was nearly midnight when the phone rang. Tyler's name lit up the screen, and for half a second I almost didn't answer. We'd barely spoken since the party, and I wasn't in the mood for more forced pleasantries. But something in my gut told me to pick up. He didn't waste time. "Dad, I need to tell you something." His voice was tight, unsteady, like it had taken him hours just to dial. "I lied," he said. "About Olivia. About the party. About everything." I didn't move. Didn't speak. Just let the silence drag, because sometimes silence does the work better than words. "It wasn't her idea to cancel the trip," he said. "She didn't back out. Mom told her she wasn't invited." I closed my eyes. My jaw tightened, slow and deliberate. "Why?" He exhaled like it hurt. "Mom said Olivia was making it about herself. That she was trying to upstage you, manipulate the family." I didn't believe it at first, but Mom can be persuasive. I pictured Olivia sitting alone somewhere in that city she's made a life in, wondering why her father hadn't called. Why the trip she built from the ground up had been discarded like it meant nothing. "She planned the trip for 2 years, I said, my voice low. "And we let her think none of it mattered." "I know," Tyler whispered. "She cut us all off. Transferred the money back. Said she needed space." I thought she was just being dramatic, but then I found the itinerary. In Mom's drawer. With everything printed. Plane tickets. Hotel confirmations. Even the restaurant reservations in Bologna. My fingers dug into the armrest. "She never canceled it," I said. "No," he answered. "She was erased." The next morning, I waited until Caroline left for her weekly bridge game, the one where she drinks iced Chardonnay and pretends to like people. As soon as the front door clicked shut, I walked into the bedroom and opened her nightstand drawer. I wasn't snooping. I was confirming. There it was. A manila folder, thick with paper. Travel confirmations, ticket stubs, and a typed itinerary so detailed it could have passed for a military op. Olivia had mapped it all out down to the hour. Museum tours. Winery stops. Even a note next to May 14th, Dad's actual birthday, surprise dinner in Florence. And tucked in the back, folded like a secret, was a handwritten letter. "To Dad." I stared at the first 2 words for a while. Not ready. Not even close. When I finally read it, the air in the room changed. She'd written it before any of this went down. Probably months ago. It wasn't long, just a page. But it was pure Olivia, thoughtful, generous, no frills. She wrote about why Italy mattered. About our Sunday walks when she was a kid, listening to stories about my grandfather. About how she wanted to give me a memory, not a party, not a speech, but something real. Something for just the 2 of us in a place where our blood came from. The last line broke something in me. "You've spent your life showing up for everyone else. It's time someone showed up for you." And we didn't even let her come to the cake table. I folded the letter carefully like it was something holy and slid it into my breast pocket. When Caroline came home, I was sitting on the porch, the letter still pressed to my chest. She asked if something was wrong. I told her, yes, but it's not new. I didn't call Olivia right away. I needed a day, maybe 2, to sit with the truth. to figure out how to approach the daughter I'd unknowingly abandoned on her own birthday plan thanks to the people who shared my roof. But Tyler didn't wait. He called again the next night. "She's at Uncle Leo's dacha. She went up there to get away from everything," he said. I told her the truth. She didn't believe me at first. Thought I was just trying to clean my conscience. "Was she angry?" I asked. There was a pause. "No. She was tired." That hit harder than any outburst ever could. Olivia was never the shouting type. But when she's tired, that's when you know the damage is real. I asked Tyler if he wanted to come with me. He said yes. For once, no hesitation. The drive up was quiet. 2 hours of Midwestern fields and awkward glances. Tyler didn't try to talk, and I didn't fill the silence. When we pulled up to the dacha, really just a weathered family cabin out by the lake, Olivia was already on the porch, arms crossed, sweater sleeves pulled over her hands. She looked older than I remembered. Not in a wrinkled way, in a changed way. Like someone who'd been fighting a quiet battle and had the scars to prove it. I stepped out of the car first. She didn't move. I walked up the steps slowly and handed her the letter. She looked down at it, eyes narrowing. "Where did you get this?" "In your mother's drawer," I said. She blinked. Just once. Then turned and walked into the house without a word. I followed. The cabin was quiet. That kind of quiet that makes every floorboard creak feel like a confession. Olivia stood by the fireplace, still holding the letter. Tyler lingered by the door, hands in his pockets like a kid waiting outside the principal's office. I didn't sit down. Didn't pace. Just stood still, letting her speak first. "You believe them," she said finally. No heat. Just truth. I did, I admitted. "And I'm sorry." She nodded slowly, like she already knew that part but needed to hear it anyway. "I spent 2 years saving for that trip," she said, voice shaking just enough to notice. "Cut out every extra, took consulting work on weekends, even skipped a vacation I desperately needed. And they told me," her voice cracked. "They told me I wasn't invited." "I know," I said. "I saw the itinerary. I read your letter." She looked up then, eyes sharp. "And where were you, Dad? On your birthday? When I didn't show up, when I didn't call, didn't text, where was the part of you that knows me better than anyone?" That one stung. Because she was right. I had known better. I just let someone else talk over that instinct, and that silence, that absence had cost us both. "I wanted to believe there was a reason," I said. "A good one. I didn't think my own wife and son would lie to my face." "And now?" she asked. "Now," I said, "I think it's time we stop pretending this family isn't cracked in the middle." Tyler spoke up then, first time since we arrived. "I want to fix it," he said quietly. "But I know I don't deserve to be the one who leads that." Olivia turned to him. "No, you don't. But you can start by standing next to me when I finally say the things I should have said years ago." She looked back at me. "All of us," she said. "Together. We didn't call ahead. We just showed up." Caroline opened the door in one of her tailored house blouses, the kind that says I'm in control even when she's not. Her smile faltered the second she saw Olivia standing beside me. And when Tyler stepped forward, she knew. The air shifted. That heavy, brittle tension of a woman who feels the walls moving in and still thinks she can hold them up with posture alone. "Can we come in?" Olivia asked, polite as ever. Caroline hesitated, then stepped aside. We sat in the living room, the same room where Caroline once told a neighbor I was emotionally indulgent because I cried at Olivia's graduation. This time I didn't cry. Olivia was calm. Clear. She looked her mother straight in the eye and laid it all out, the trip, the effort, the betrayal. No drama. Just facts. And then she asked, why? Caroline didn't answer at first. Just pressed her lips together like she was holding back a lecture. Finally, she said, because you were taking him away from me. The words hung there, sharp and raw. You've always been his favorite, she continued. Always. And you know it. You say it wasn't a performance, Olivia, but that's what it felt like. Like you were putting on a show and I was just another guest at the edge of the stage. No, Olivia said, quiet but firm. You chose the edge. I invited you to the center. You just never showed up. Tyler didn't speak. He just stared at the rug, guilt burning like a second skin. And me? I watched my wife unravel not like a villain, but like a woman so tangled in her own insecurities she'd rather sabotage her own family than feel forgotten. That was the moment the illusion cracked. We weren't a family, not really. We were a pageant held together by silence. But not anymore. The room went still after that. Caroline sat there like she'd just confessed to a crime she didn't think counted. And maybe to her, it didn't. Maybe she thought motherhood came with some divine exemption that you could lie, manipulate, exile your own daughter from her father's birthday and still wear the crown of the one who sacrificed. But Olivia wasn't looking for an apology. Not anymore. She stood up. You don't have to like that, Dad and I are close, she said. But you don't get to punish me for it. Caroline opened her mouth, but Olivia cut her off. No more rewrites. No more guilt disguised as concern. You made a choice and you lied to him. To both of us. I can forgive a mistake. But this wasn't a mistake. It was strategy. That last word hit like a gavel. I looked at Caroline, and for the first time in our marriage, she looked small. Not fragile. Not sad. Just small, like someone who'd spent so long controlling the stage, she forgot how to exist when the spotlight moved on. I stood up beside Olivia. Tyler followed. And right there in our own living room, we did something we should have done a long time ago. We stopped pretending Caroline's silence was strength. We stopped tiptoeing around her need to be centered in everything. We told the truth. We're going to Italy, I said. Not someday. Not in theory. Me and Olivia were going. Caroline didn't argue. She didn't cry. She just nodded once. And said maybe I should talk to someone. That was the only honest thing she said that day. We booked the flight that night. Olivia forwarded me the original itinerary, still saved in her email like a keepsake she couldn't bring herself to delete. Most of it was salvageable. A few hotels had to be rebooked, but the bones were still there. The vineyards in Emilia-Romagna, the museum pass in Florence, and that dinner reservation on my birthday, 7:30 p.m. facing the Arno River. She didn't ask if I was sure. I didn't need to be. The morning we left, Tyler drove us to O'Hare. He carried our bags, hugged his sister, then looked at me like he was trying to make up for years in one glance. Take care of her, he said. I nodded. I always do. Caroline didn't come to the airport. No surprise there. But she did send a text that morning. Have a good trip. I hope it helps. It wasn't much. But maybe for her, it was a first brick laid on a better road. The flight was long. Quiet. Olivia had her headphones in most of the time, scribbling in a leather-bound journal I didn't recognize. Every now and then she'd glance at me and smile, not the kind you give out of obligation. The kind you give someone you're building something new with. When we landed in Bologna, the air felt different. Warm. Honest. We checked into a small guest house on a hill that overlooked the old city. No concierge. No crowd. Just two people trying to make good on something that should have never been taken away. That night, over dinner, Olivia handed me a tiny box. Inside was a keychain, cheap, metal, shaped like Italy. I was going to give it to you on the trip, she said. You know, the one I wasn't invited to. I smiled. Took it in my hand. Better late than never, I said. And for once, I meant it. Italy healed something I didn't know was broken. We didn't do anything extravagant. We walked. A lot. Through cobbled alleys where the buildings leaned in like old friends. Through markets that smelled like roasted chestnuts and lemon peel. Through museums where Olivia whispered facts she remembered from childhood books I'd read her. One morning in Florence, we sat on a bench overlooking the city, sipping coffee that put anything back home to shame. Olivia turned to me and said, I'm not angry anymore. It caught me off guard. Not because she said it, but because it was true. Her face didn't hold any of that quiet resentment that had lived there for months. Just calm. You were allowed to be, I told her. I know, she said. But it started to feel like carrying someone else's weight. We didn't talk much about Caroline on the trip. When we did, it wasn't sharp or bitter, just factual. Like discussing weather. Or scars. But something softened on the last night. Olivia pulled out her phone and texted her mother a photo, the two of us at a little trattoria, laughing over pasta. No caption. No commentary. Just proof of life. Of peace. Of what could have been and what was still possible. Caroline responded with a single heart emoji. Baby steps. When we landed back in Chicago, Tyler picked us up again. The three of us went to lunch. Talked like people who'd seen what collapse looked like and wanted something better. No grand declarations. No forced forgiveness. Just three people relearning how to be a family. A year passed. Quietly but not passively. Caroline started therapy for real this time. Not just the polite kind where you show up and nod. I didn't ask what came up in her sessions and she didn't offer. But the sharp edges started to round off. Less control. More listening. She'd always been a conductor in a room full of instruments, but lately she'd started letting the music play without her cue. Tyler changed too. He and Olivia started texting regularly, grabbing lunch on workdays, even teasing each other like they were kids again. I saw it happen slowly, like grass growing through concrete. No dramatic reunion. Just small, consistent proof that things weren't as broken as we'd thought. And then Olivia made the suggestion. Let's do Dad's birthday at that little Italian place downtown, she said. You know, the one with the yellow awning and the waiters who pretend not to speak English even though they're from Evanston. She said it lightly, but I knew what she meant. Full circle. We made the reservation. That night, we all showed up. Caroline wearing something soft instead of severe. Tyler and Rebecca, arms linked. Olivia early, of course, already sitting at the table, wine poured, I scanning the menu like she didn't already know it by heart. And me? 61 now. A little grayer. A little wiser. And for the first time in a long time, not waiting for the other shoe to drop. We ordered too much. Laughed too loud. Stayed too late. And when the waiter brought out the tiramisu with a little candle in it, Olivia leaned over and said, "This is what I meant to give you." A year late, but right on time. I didn't say anything. Just smiled. Because she already knew. After dessert, we lingered. No one rushed for coats or checked the time. It was the kind of night you want to stretch just a little longer, not because it's perfect, but because it's earned. Caroline excused herself to the restroom and Olivia watched her go. Then turned to me. Do you think she meant it? The therapy, the change? I took a breath. I think, for the first time, she saw the cost. Not just in you. In all of us. Olivia nodded. Not in agreement, in understanding. That's the thing about healing. It doesn't always look like forgiveness. Sometimes it's just clarity with no more need for explanations. When Caroline came back, she didn't pretend nothing had happened. She looked at Olivia and said, "I was wrong." Just that. No conditions. No excuses. Olivia didn't reply right away. Just gave a small nod. The kind that means, "I heard you." That's enough for tonight. Later, outside the restaurant, the air was cool, the city humming quietly around us. Olivia slipped her arm through mine as we waited for the valet. Tyler and Rebecca were laughing behind us, Caroline watching the street lamp sway in the breeze. You know, Olivia said, "I don't regret the way it happened." Why not? Because I learned who shows up when the lights go out. I looked at her, and for once, I didn't feel the need to fix or explain. I just stood beside her, the daughter they tried to turn away, the father they tried to keep in the dark, and felt the simple, steady truth of being there. No more performances. No more rewriting history. Just the right people in the right place at the right time. Even if it took a war to get there. A year ago, we were strangers under the same roof. Yeah? We're not perfect, but we're real. That matters more. Sundays have become our thing again. Olivia swings by with pastries from that overpriced bakery she pretends isn't overpriced. Tyler brings board games he never reads the rules for. Caroline comes too, quieter these days, but present. Not running the show. Just part of it. And me? I've learned to sit back. To let the people I love unfold without trying to interpret everything. I don't need to referee or fix or patch over the silences. I just need to show up. That's enough now. There are moments, small ones, when it hits me how close we came to losing each other. A dinner. A decision. A single sentence that rewrote the truth. But Olivia never let that version stick. She could have walked away. She had every reason to. But instead, she gave us a chance to become something better. Not just a family by name, a family by choice. I keep that old Italy keychain on my desk. Not because I'm sentimental, but because it reminds me of who she is and what we almost missed. 60 came and went. Life didn't stop. But now, when I look around the table at her, at them, I don't wonder who's missing. We're all here, and that's more than I ever expected.